Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a document that is fascinating, highly intense, and honestly, kind of bizarre. We're going to create a comprehensive primer on what the source material calls the Seven Mandates of Dissemination. And look, this isn't your standard run-of-the-mill educational theory. Not at all. This is a rigorous, deeply philosophical framework designed with one genuinely audacious goal: to literally transform everyday citizens, people just walking down the street, into elite pure mathematics researchers. It operates completely outside of modern classrooms, relying instead on a highly confrontational, deeply physical pedagogy of the infinite. It's intense, it's demanding, and as you'll see, it's absolutely brilliant in its psychological design.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to put yourself in a hypothetical scenario for a second. Imagine you're just walking through a busy public square on a random Tuesday afternoon. People are glued to their phones, rushing to grab coffee, completely absorbed in the finite everyday world. And right in the middle of all that noise, you're stopped dead in your tracks because you see a massive, imposing chalkboard sitting right there under the open sun. And written on it is a single grounding question: can you draw a boundary around nothing? It's jarring, right? It's completely out of place. But that's the whole point. It's specifically designed to snap you out of your daily routine and force your brain to confront absolute, fundamental logic.
If you actually walk up to this chalkboard, you're going to encounter these core axioms, which the text calls the Personas of Arithmetic. According to the mandates, these foundational rules are the absolute anchor of this entire philosophy. Practitioners are instructed to print these out, display them publicly, even tape them to their office doors. Now, the text explicitly acknowledges that people walking by might literally call the practitioner crazy. But that is exactly the point. It's a deliberate provocation. The practitioner actually wants you to walk up and call them crazy, because that right there, that is the exact moment the engagement protocol kicks in. But before we get into the specific steps of that protocol, we really have to understand the mindset of the person standing next to that chalkboard. Our source material uses this incredibly profound quote to set the tone. It says, "Recall, the pure mathematician tends to the tree of knowledge but does not eat because he is not hungry." And wow. That tells us everything we need to know about the practitioner guiding you, doesn't it? They are definitely not a traditional teacher. They are operating with a fiercely ascetic, almost monastic discipline. They're completely detached from worldly desires, just entirely consumed by the pure, unadulterated pursuit of mathematical truth.
So here is the roadmap for the grueling 7-step gauntlet you're about to endure. We'll be moving from the physical anchor into the engagement, taking the ascetic vow, establishing the logical bedrock, moving up through geometric ascension, hitting the more method loop, and finally reaching the transfinite horizon. Let's just jump right into step 1.
Mandate 1 is the physical anchor. And this is an uncompromising rejection of the digital world. You absolutely cannot do this on an iPad or computer screen. The mandate requires the erection of a high-quality, literal chalkboard in a highly visible public space. It demands a dry, comfortable terrace directly in front of it, specifically positioned right under the open sun. And every single morning, the practitioner has to perform this physical ritual of writing out one of the personas, like Persona 0, which states, "The empty set captures the void. The empty set is not the void," in large, bold letters. This physical presence, that is your immovable anchor against all the digital noise of modern life.
So what happens when a cynic marches up to this massive chalkboard and starts calling the practitioner crazy? Well, mandate 2, the engagement kicks in, and the rule here is incredibly strict. Do not engage in emotional debate. Zero defensive rhetoric. Instead, you just step aside, hold out a piece of chalk, and hand it to them. You ask them that grounding question we talked about earlier. By physically handing over the chalk, you're literally forcing the cynic's mind out of an emotional verbal argument and dropping them directly into spatial, logical action upon the slate. You are making them draw their argument. It's brilliant.
Which brings us right to mandate 3, the ascetic vow. The practitioner must completely and utterly abstain from the finite world. We're talking no politics, no pop culture, no commerce, no asking for donations, nothing. Instead, you speak exclusively of pure mathematics and absolute certainty. The source notes you can only use outside analogies if they are strictly necessary to map a listener's mind onto the rigid axioms of set theory. By entirely rejecting the noise of the modern world, the practitioner becomes this magnetic beacon of absolute certainty. They only interface with the material world to the exact extent that it furthers the math. Now, what's really interesting about this is mandate 4, the logical bedrock. Once that cynic actually takes the chalk, the practitioner enforces the strict Moore method. That means there is zero lecturing, none at all. Instead, you are just handed the foundational axioms of set theory, specifically Zermelo-Fraenkel set theory, or ZFC. Starting with the axiom of extensionality and the axiom of the empty set, the practitioner forces you to physically draw the difference between the void and the null set on the board. You are literally guided to manually construct the natural numbers out of pure nothingness. And you stay right there at that chalkboard, chalk in hand, until you independently realize a massive core truth, that no finite set is good. You are not handed the answer. You have to construct the proofs yourself until your brain recognizes the absolute necessity of the transfinite. The practitioners simply won't let you move forward in this journey until you independently, logically grasp this profound mathematical reality with your own two hands. Once you finally master that discrete logic, Mandate 5 initiates what they call the geometric ascension. You are transitioned into general topology. But listen, you aren't just doing math anymore. You are mapping the very geometry of reality itself. Using Stephen Willard's framework, you literally chart out the infinite using open sets and topological filters. You're taught the mechanics of the absolute necessity of upward closure and how intersections actually synthesize truth. The practitioner is basically elevating your mind from simple counting to fully understanding the structural fabric of existence. And I have to say, the strictness of this curriculum literally cannot be overstated. To pass this stage, you must conceptually grasp deeply advanced ideas like the stone-check compactification and the existence of the macroscopic measure. You have to understand topology fundamentally, not just through the crutch of simple metric spaces. In fact, the text contains a very firm and honestly kind of funny command. For anyone who has ever taken a mainstream calculus class, under no circumstances shall early transcendentals be entertained. No way. They want rigorous conceptual understanding from the ground up. Shortcuts simply do not exist here. Let's see how this builds, because this immense difficulty leads perfectly into the psychological genius of Mandate 6. The text totally acknowledges that enlightenment doesn't just happen in a single afternoon. Eventually, standing at that chalkboard, you are going to hit a logical wall. You'll encounter a paradox or a proof that you simply cannot immediately solve. Your brain is just going to freeze up entirely. And what does the practitioner do when you hit that wall? Well, they step forward, take the eraser, and just wipe the board entirely clean. They do not give you a single hint. They don't give you the answer. Actually, scratch that, they don't give you anything. They employ a ruthless pedagogical style, leaving you standing there completely in suspense, holding a piece of chalk in front of a totally blank slate. They just look at you and simply say, "The terrace will be here tomorrow under the sun, and you must return with the proof." This is the Moore method loop, and it is beautifully designed to hook directly into your innate human compulsion for logical resolution. I mean, the human brain naturally hates an unfinished puzzle, right? By erasing the board and dismissing you, the practitioner essentially guarantees that you will return to that chalkboard day after day, progressively climbing the ordinal ladder of complexity, driven entirely by your own obsessive need to solve the paradox.
So the crucial point is Mandate 7, the transfinite horizon. Because the purpose of this entire exhausting public ascetic process isn't just to get you to nod along in philosophical agreement. No, the goal is mathematical generation. The practitioner keeps you in that loop, iterating through topological filters until you cross the threshold from being a student to becoming a true mathematical peer. The success condition is only met when you, the formerly distracted citizen, are actively contributing novel, rigorous, pure mathematics research right there on that public chalkboard. And then we reach the climax of the whole narrative. Once you have generated that novel research, your time as a student on that terrace is officially done. You are initiated. And the final command? You must go forth, find your own public square, erect your own physical chalkboard under the open sun, and repeat the entire cycle. You become the immovable anchor for the next unsuspecting citizen who walks by and calls you crazy. You literally perpetuate the pedagogy of the infinite. It's a wildly demanding, incredibly structured blueprint for spreading absolute logical truth in a chaotic world. It strips away all of our modern conveniences and forces a very direct, physical confrontation with the infinite. So, knowing the ascetic vow required, the paradoxes you'll definitely face, and the ultimate transformation demanded of you, I want to leave you with this. Are you ready to step up to the chalk?